I'm going to talk in these 4 videos of how you can improve your money situation, a topic that people tend to avoid. And because they do avoid it, that's one of the reasons why they don't make money, because of the relationship which they have with money. So the key thing to learn with money is money is neither good nor bad. So regardless of whatever you were brought up with, the kind of sayings of money's the root of all evil, and money doesn't grow on trees, whatever you were brought up with. Hit me in the comments box what type of limiting beliefs or stigma that you were taught around money. It's interesting to hear that from other people. But the thing to note is that your relationship to money is what attracts it and what pushes it away. And it's the reason why a lot of people struggle, because they don't have that relationship with it. And here's the thing, and I'm quite open about this, that times for me, they were hard when I grew up. So anyone who's was brought up in a council house like me, then times were hard. I didn't get to go on holidays. If I went on a holiday, it was with my grandma and granddad. I went to Blackpool for a few days. Didn't get to go abroad until I was like 15, 16 years old, where I got took away. But the point being, things were hard, and they don't have to be, because I was brought up in an area where people say, if there's anyone on here from Redcar, and they say that money doesn't grow on trees, and there's very little opportunity in this area. And I can tell you now, guys, it's not true. It's a limiting belief. But if you get conditioned by that, and that becomes your belief, then that's the results that you'll get as well. You'll get exactly the same results as potentially your parents or your grandparents. And you need to break that mold, because it doesn't need to be that way. So money is neither good nor bad, and there's never a lack of opportunity. So do not let people tell you that you're from a certain area and it lacks opportunity, because it's bullshit. So when I came out the army, one of the things which I done was I set up a construction company. And a lot of people said that you'll never make it with a construction company, because there's too many builders in the area and there's not enough work to go around. And most builders were turning over less than the VAT limit, which was about 80 grand at the time. And within 12 months, we were doing 750,000 a year in turnover. And we grew to being the largest construction company in the area. And opportunity didn't change. It's the way that I approach business and the way that I do things. And I can guarantee I can teach you that as well. Brian's saying, I can't believe I haven't swore yet. There's plenty of time for that, Brian. I'll save a few for when I'm passionate. Right, I'm just going to jiggle my camera. So if you're joining us now, share it. Let's get the numbers up a bit. Let's get over 100 people on the live. And I'm going to talk into, so in this, I'm going to do a series of 4. So each Sunday. So tonight and then 3 more. And I'm going to take you through a process, and I'm going to give you some action points and bits that you can do. So if you follow these things that I'm going to teach on, then you can go away and you can implement these things. And let's see what results you get. So the first one I want to do tonight, I've made some notes. So here's my little bit of paper. And I've made some notes on here. So tonight I want to talk in more around the relationship with money, and that relationship which people have, because people push it away. So if you're... so here's a question for you before we start off. If I was to say to you and ask you a question, and I was to say, when I say the word money, what does that actually mean to you? So does that trigger a negative feeling, or does it trigger a positive feeling? And if it triggers a negative feeling, then you're going to push money away. So let's say, for example, you see money as being a problem, it's an issue in your life, then unfortunately it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy and you'll actually push money away from you guys. And you don't want that. I want to help you through these 4 series to have more income. And when you've got more income, you can do more things with it. So when people say things like, there's only so much money you can have and so much money you can spend, I agree with that. And I've hit sort of the ceiling of the amount of money which I want to spend, which is around about 120 grand a year. And I don't spend more than that. But here's the thing. If you've got 200 grand a year, or 300 grand a year, or 500 grand a year, it means you can give more away. So maybe there's somebody around you right now that you'd like more money for, so you could help them. Maybe that's your mum, your dad, might be your brother, sister, might be your children. And the more that money you've got, if it's in the right hands, you can do the right things with it. So you can give it away to charity, you can help other people, you can give people opportunities. So money's neither good or bad. It all depends on whose hands it's in. So an example of that is my grandma. So my grandma, as I said, I was brought up with my grandparents. We were brought up in a council house, and my grandparents didn't have a lot. Yeah, my grandma used to go around and make scones for people. And any of the people that I've taught will know this, because I talk into this story where my grandma and granddad would make scones and she would go take them to other people's houses. She would sweep up the whole street. So not just outside of her house, she would sweep up the whole street. So although we didn't have money, I learned from an early age that giving is important, and you don't have to have a lot in order to give. So I want you to shift your relationship around money. So if right now money's a problem to you and you're maybe in debt, then what I'm going to help you do over the 4 weeks is to move away from that. Because if you're focused on debt and bills, then unfortunately you'll never move away from it, because you're either in one or two areas. You're either in the problem or you're in the solution. So what I want to help you do over the next 4 weeks is help you get into the solution, so we can start to look how to generate money. Now, people have certain meanings to money as well. So I would ask you a question. What else is the other beliefs you have around money? So, for example, some people think that only bad people have money, for example, which again is not true. I know some people that I know that are very wealthy and they give most of the money away. They give huge amounts of their money away each year because they aren't that bothered about it. They've got a certain lifestyle that they live, but it allows them to do other things. So it's all around that relationship. So, okay, something which people with money do. So a lot of people get confused with being busy rather than being productive. So they get focused on being busy rather than being productive. And there's a big difference. So if you're the type of person who has big job lists, huge lists, that's how I used to operate. And just because you've got a big job list and you've been busy doesn't mean you're being productive. So you need to focus on being productive. So one of the key things which I do is I ask myself this very question every day. What's the 5 things that I can do today that's going to have the biggest impact on both my life and other people's lives? So what's the 5 things I can do today that's going to have the biggest impact on both my life and other people's lives? And that forces me to work on the important stuff. So one of my suggestions is, regardless of where you are right now, so if you're watching this and you're a millionaire, or you're watching this and you've got loads of debt letters coming through your door, it doesn't matter. It's about drawing the line in the sand today and going, right, this is where I'm at and that's where I want to be. And I can help you do that. So the key thing is that we want to have clearly defined goals. So looking and going, where do I want to be and what sort of income do I want. So all successful people know exactly where they're going, so they've got clearly defined goals. So if you've maybe set some goals in the past, and you've come off track, or maybe it's time to set some new goals, then we'll do that during this call today. So I'll talk into a few things what you need to do, start thinking about some goals. And if you've never set goals before, then I'm going to give you a couple of tips on that as well. So we need to be looking at where we're going rather than where we are. So it's about accepting our situation, regardless how shit it is, and going, right, okay, this is where I'm at right now. It's not great, but where would I rather want to be instead? Because if we get fixated on the shit, then we never ever move forward, which is what we don't want. Okay, so people with money have a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. So let me explain what the difference is. A fixed mindset is somebody who they find a problem for every solution, and someone with a growth mindset, I'll try and find a solution for every problem. So you might have seen it. You put yourself around some people, and it doesn't matter how many solutions you give them, they'll find a problem for your solutions. So if that's you and you've been stuck in that kind of mindset, we want to break that. It doesn't matter if you've been there in the past, but we want to break it moving forward. So we want to look and go, how do I think of solutions moving forward? So what's my goals? And I want to start thinking of solutions for these problems rather than finding problems for other people's solutions. So that's another tip what you need to have. Right, this one's mega important. So all successful people, so all of my friends and other business people that I associate with, they all understand the difference in this point, and that is cost versus ROI. And ROI means return on investment. So you've got to get out the mindset of cost. And I used to be in that myself. So when I first started out, it's difficult. Where if you've got your own business, then you might look at a member of staff and go, I can't afford a member of staff because that's got a cost of 20, 25 grand a year. Whatever the figure is, it doesn't matter. But here's the thing. If that 25 grand a year staff member can bring in 40 grand a year, it's actually costing you 15 grand to not employ them. And that goes the same for anything. So if I'm employing an accountant, a mortgage broker, a structural engineer, a legal team, whoever it is, I don't ask myself how much the price is. I want to know, what do I get back for what I'm putting in? Now, I understand that there's levels with that, that you might not be able to go out and pay 100 grand for a solicitor, or 100 grand for a broker, 100 grand for an accountant, for example. So you need to be looking and moving up the scale as quick as you possibly can. So let's say, for example, you've got 5 grand and you need a new accountant, and you're looking and going, right, accountant A is 1,000, accountant B was 2 grand, and accountant C was 3,000. Most people would look at that and they go for the cheapest option, where I don't. So I'd ask the 3 accountants, what will you give me in return for the money that I give you? So let's say, for example, accountant A, who's 1,000 quid, they might just do a box standard, do your profit and loss accounts at the end of the year. Whereas accountant C, which you think is 2 grand more, and by not going to them you make a saving, accountant C might be able to get you 10 grand a year in grants, or they may be able to find solutions in your business that are going to create more wealth, or they're able to connect you with people that will push your business on more. So it's important that you know what's the return on investment. So I never ever, when I'm looking for someone as part of my team, look at cost, and I don't ever look at training as that as well. So I invest hundreds of thousands, and when I say hundreds of thousands, I mean hundreds of thousands in coaches, trainers, mentors. So even though I mentor other people and I coach and I train, I have my own mentors as well. So I pay for coaching. I pay to be around like-minded business people. I'll travel to London. I'll fly to Ireland to be around these type of people, because I understand that I need that in order to grow. So getting around the right people is essential for growth and wealth. You've got to be around the right people. If you put yourself around 5 people who are skint and they're all complaining about money, you'll become the 6th one. But if you put yourself around 5 people who are millionaires and who are successful and they're talking about how can we move on to the next level, you'll also become the 6th as well. So putting yourself around the right people is mega, mega important. Now, if you're just starting out, and let's say you're just leaving school, for example, and you don't have much money, you're skint, people say to me, how can I start out? And then my advice would be, go read some books, or go and have a look at some YouTube videos and things like that. If you go on my YouTube channel, it's full of thousands and thousands of hours of free content. And people often say to me how much they learnt for free before they even come done training with me. And it helped them get started. So have a look at that. Have a look at books. You can go in the libraries and get books. You can get them for nothing. You can go in there and hire them. You can go on YouTube and you can watch videos for nothing. So there's no excuse to not put yourself around the right people and start to learn. What else is on my little list? Cash flow is king. Cash flow is king. So let me talk about that. So the reason why I don't invest in things like gold, stock, shares, Bitcoin, although I did just throw a couple of grand at one particular thing because risk versus reward, I deemed that it was worth it. But generally, I won't touch anything like that. And the reason why is they don't give me cash flow. So if you put money into gold or stocks or shares, they aren't giving you a regular income unless you take your money back out. And then if you take your money out, you've killed the golden goose. So my philosophy is to create assets, so i.e. property or garages or commercial units, and they continue to pay you money. So if I buy them once, they pay me forever. So it's important that you get assets because they provide cash flow. So you want something that can give you a reoccurring income, because once you've got that, it now means you can be free. You don't need to work if you don't want to. It means if anything happens in the economy, so like COVID for me, I still had all my properties, and all my properties, we only had a couple of tenants that couldn't pay, and all of the others, the money just came in. So that money came in regardless. So even if my other businesses were shut and I couldn't trade and operate, I had that lifeline from that cash flow. So cash flow is king, and it's mega important. You want assets that are going to return your money. What else have I got? Delayed gratification. I've wrote this one down because this is something big which I've done in my life. So what do I mean by delayed gratification? So if you're just joining us now, hit us up in the comments where you're from and share this live. Let's get the numbers up a little bit. So hit your share button and comment in the comments box where you're from. Then I can interact with you after this. So after we've done the live, I'll take a few questions and I'll see about how I can help you a bit quicker. So the next one I want to talk about is delayed gratification. And what I mean by that is the need for not needing to spend your money. So one thing that I done really well was when I was working, I was in the army, and I was making money and I had spare money over, was I didn't just go blow it. I didn't just go throw that money and get nothing back for it. I put it into assets. So one of the things that I done was I drove old cars. My very first car that I bought, and I would have been, let me think, so I got it in 2006. So I was 29. I was 29 years old when I got my first car. That was my first car at 29. I got a motorbike first, and that was in 2003. So I would have been 26. So 26-year-old until I had a motorbike, and I was 29 until I had a car. I know, it's crazy. And the first car, I paid 200 quid for it. And it was a D-Reg diesel, mega old car. And then I got rid of that one. I actually crashed it. I wrote it off on the A1, which wasn't great. And then I got the purple Lizard, and it was £170 Vauxhall Corsa, purple. And I called it the Purple Lizard. And I used to use that from travelling from Surrey. And although I didn't have to have that car, because I was on 30 grand a year, Gemma was a school teacher, making similar sort of money. And I was making money from flipping property. So I was making best part of 100 grand a year back in 2006. But I didn't waste my money. So I drove around in old cars. And when people used to laugh at me and used to say, why are you driving that pile of shit? I knew that my money was going into assets, and 10 years down the line, I would be able to drive any car that I want. And that's why now I've got, I bought a BMW i8, which was brand new. And I'm currently looking at a Lamborghini, brand new. I was there again yesterday, and I can't pick because I'm struggling with the colours and a few little things. But I don't need to rush it because, again, I'm good with that delayed gratification. And I like the fact that I go there and I don't have to get it right now. There's not that need for, I need this new dress, I need this new pair of trainers, I must have the most expensive car that I can afford so I can impress the birds, so I can drive around. And I didn't need that. I didn't care what people thought about me. So I drove around in an old car, and I was more than happy to put that money into assets. So delayed gratification. So don't have that need for, I must have the latest gadgets. I must have... one thing that my mates used to take the piss out of me for was I always had very old, dated phones as well. So I'd have an old phone, I'd have old car, and my money just went into assets. So delayed gratification, it's important. Don't feel you need stuff. Because let me ask you this question now. Would you rather drive, say, a 15 grand, 20 grand car, but that's the car that you drive every year for the next 40 years? Or would you rather drive a shit car for, say, 5 years and put your money into assets, but then later on in life you can drive things like i8s, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, whatever your dream car, Porsches, whatever it is. So ask yourself that. I knew where I was going, and I knew what I was doing, and I knew why I was doing it, and I didn't care what people thought.